Hey folks, today we're going to be looking at some vocabulary for IELTS, and our topic for the day is photography. I'd like to show you some words, and we're going to focus on, to begin with, 3 words that are related and quite similar. And the first one is photo. Now this is a word hopefully everyone here knows. Photo is short for photograph. It means a picture that was taken with a camera. We can use this word to talk about digital photos or printed photos, and you can see some examples here. A black and white photo, or their wedding photos. Our next word is photography, which means the art or practice of taking photos. So why is photograph different from photography? Well, you'll notice first the stress. When we say photo or photograph, we stress the first syllable, so photograph. But with photography, we stress the second syllable, the tog sound, photography. For example, he really enjoys photography, or she studied photography for 4 years. Another word that's clearly related is photographer. As you can see, we also pronounce the second syllable here, the tog sound, photographer, photographer. This is a person who takes photos for their job. You can see that from the ER at the end. This usually means a person who does something. So how do we use these words then? Well, there are different ways. We can say take a photo or shoot a photo. Of course, you need to change the grammar to fit your meaning. If we make a question, we might say something like, what sort of photos do you like to take? Or, did you take any good photos last night? Both of these verbs are fine to use, but be aware, I think take is a little more common. Now we can see 3 pictures of people doing something. This is something very common in the modern era, but maybe 20 years ago you would have looked crazy if you were doing this. Do you know what this is called? This is called a selfie. Of course, it's become an international word. Selfie. This is a noun. We can add the word take to it. We can say take a selfie. I think it would be a little weird to say shoot a selfie, but it's also, I guess, technically correct. You can see some more examples here. And this picture, believe it or not, is a real selfie that was taken by a monkey who stole a photographer's camera. If you're asked about photography in the real IELTS exam, you should give an honest answer. If they say, do you like photography? And you do, then you should say yes and talk about it. If you don't, you can change the subject a little. If you do like photography, like I do, then you should know some of the basic terms to talk about it. These could really show your examiner that you know about this topic. Let's look at these 3 pictures. What kind of pictures are they? Yes, they are good pictures. They're very good pictures. What do they have in common? Are they pictures of people? No, they are pictures of the landscape. This is what we would call landscape photography. Here we can see 3 people. These are very interesting pictures, and they focus on the person. When we take a picture of a person, we call this portrait photography. This goes back, of course, to painting, and you would paint a portrait. Now we would just say to take a photo of someone, really, or to do portrait photography. This is an amazing picture to me. There's a huge whale, I think a blue whale, but I don't know for sure. And you can see the diver shooting photographs. This is called underwater photography. anything that you do underwater could more or less take the adjective underwater before it. If you're asked to talk about photos, then you don't need to talk about the technical aspects. You could just use the term photos of. You could say, I like to take photos of old buildings. When I was younger, I took photos of sporting events. My friend always takes photos of food. It's so boring. Or I really like taking photos of animals. Let's dig a little deeper here and talk about photography techniques. Again, you don't need to be an expert here, but having a knowledge of this vocabulary can be useful. Here we can see some different ways to arrange our photos, and when we do this, we call it composition. Composition. The next word that you might need to know if you're going to talk about photography a little more is the word frame or framing. A frame is the area around the outside of a picture. It could actually be not part of the picture. It could be something that's holding the picture. But in photography, what we usually mean is a way of focusing the viewer's attention on something, usually the most important part. Finally, we'll come to the word perspective. This essentially means the angle of how something, including a camera, is looking. At its most basic, are you looking up or are you looking down? Although there are other meanings to it as well. In photography, when we talk about perspective, it means where the camera is pointing. So are we learning about this? Well, photography is an IELTS topic. It could occur in your next IELTS test. It is most likely to occur in the speaking part. There are various reasons for this, and we can discuss them as we look at these questions. So here are 5 questions that could appear in part 1 of the speaking test. This is a short interview or conversation between the examiner and the candidate. And these will be quite simple, personal questions like, do you like taking photos? You could say, yes, I really like taking photos. I take photos all the time. Or, no, I don't, and I never really do it. You don't need to say too much for these kinds of answers. You can just answer them directly with a little extra information. For part 2, you will be given a cue card, and it will tell you to describe something. Here, it might say describe one of your favorite photographs, but remember, you should read the question carefully, or else it might have some specific meaning that you overlook. Could be describe a photograph that you have taken or someone else has taken. Of course, this would require a different answer. And finally, for part 3, the questions about photography would more than likely be about society or age or possibly gender. I don't see how you could really do that for photography, but that's the type of question you get. For example, how has modern technology changed the way we take photographs? You would say something like, in the modern era, it seems like everyone now has a phone in their pocket that has a really high quality camera. So rather than actually decide I want to take a picture and go and take a large camera somewhere and set it up with a tripod, people can just pull their phone out of their pocket and take a picture at any moment. This means that photography is a lot more common, but people probably think about it less than they used to. There's also a lot of digital manipulation that you can do to change a photo after the fact. A lot of people just refer to this as photoshopping. Okay everyone, that's enough for today's video. I hope you've learned some useful language. If you have any of these questions that you would like to give me your answer for, you can put it in the comment section below. See you next time.